The phone slipped from my hand, crashing onto the hardwood floor of my Brooklyn apartment with a sound that echoed like a gunshot in my chest. My cousin Jamie's face stared back at me from the cracked screen, his profile glowing on the gay dating app I'd been secretly scrolling through for weeks. Those hazel eyes, that crooked smile he knew, and the text he'd just sent. Guess we need to talk. Huh. Felt like the world tilting beneath my feet. I wasn't ready for this. Not for Jamie. Of all people. To know I was gay. Growing up in our tight-knit, conservative family in upstate New York, we'd been more like brothers than cousins, sharing secrets over late-night video games and sneaking beers from Uncle Ray's fridge. But this was a secret I'd buried so deep it hurt to even think about. I'd spent years dodging questions about girlfriends, crafting lies about being too busy for love, all while my heart raced at the thought of someone like Jamie, someone who laughed too loud, who wore his confidence like a second skin, who made every room feel brighter. And now, here he was, on my app, his profile screaming a truth I wasn't prepared to face. Jamie was in a guise too. I paced the small living room, my sneakers squeaking against the floor. The city buzzed outside my window, taxis honking, street vendors shouting, but inside, it was just me and the weight of that notification. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Jamie. Meet me at Prospect Park. 7 p.m. Don't ghost me. Alex. My stomach twisted. Prospect Park was our place where we'd tossed frisbees as kids, where we'd vented about high school crushes and family fights. Going there now felt like walking into a trap, but the thought of ignoring him was worse. Jamie had a way of pulling me out of my shell. Always had. Even when I wanted to hide. By 6:45, I was at the park, the autumn air sharp against my skin. The leaves were a riot of red and gold, crunching under my boots as I made my way to our usual spot by the lake. Jamie was already there, leaning against a tree, his leather jacket open despite the chill. He looked up as I approached, and that damn smile of his half-teasing, half-knowing hit me like a punch. Took you long enough, he said, his voice low, playful, but with an edge I couldn't place. I didn't know you were, I started, but the words caught in my throat. Gay. On the app. Interested in me. My face burned, and I shoved my hands into my pockets, staring at the ground. On Grindr. Jamie finished, stepping closer. Too close. Yeah. Well, you weren't supposed to know either. But here we are. His tone was light, but his eyes were searching mine, like he was waiting for me to bolt. Or maybe to confess something. I swallowed hard. Why didn't you tell me? He laughed. A soft, bitter sound. Same reason you didn't tell me, I guess. Family. Right. They'd lose it. Uncle Ray would probably disown us both. He paused, kicking a stray leaf. But seeing you on there, I don't know. Alex. It felt like fate or something. Fate. The word hung between us, heavy and dangerous. I wanted to laugh it off, to tell him he was crazy. But the way he looked at me like he saw every part of me I tried to hide made my heart race. I'd spent so long pretending, locking away the part of me that dreamed of love, of connection, of someone who understood. And now, Jamie was standing there, offering me a glimpse of something I'd never dared to want. We sat on the bench by the lake, the same one we'd carved our initials into when we were 12. The silence stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was charged, like the air before a storm. "So," Jamie said finally, leaning back, his arm brushing against mine. "What do we do now?" I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that my world had shifted, and Jamie and me cousin, my best friend, the guy I'd secretly crushed on for years, was at the center of it. The thought terrified me, but it also set something free. Something I couldn't name yet. As the sun dipped below the trees, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Jamie reached for my hand. His fingers were warm, steady, and for the first time in years, I didn't pull away. But even as my heart pounded with possibility, a shadow loomed in the back of my mind. Our family. If they found out, if they even suspected, this moment, this fragile, beautiful thing could shatter. The next few weeks were a blur of stolen glances and secret meetings. Jamie and I fell into a rhythm, texting late into the night, meeting at out-of-the-way coffee shops in Williamsburg or quiet corners of the park. Every moment with him felt like a rebellion, a middle finger to the rules we'd grown up with. But it also felt right, like I was finally living instead of just surviving. One night, we ended up at a dive bar in Bushwick, the kind of place with sticky floors and neon lights that flickered like they were on their last legs. Jamie was telling some ridiculous story about a guy he'd met on the app before me, his hands flying as he mimicked the guy's terrible pickup line. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my beer. And for a moment, it was just us, no family, no judgment, no fear. Just Alex and Jamie, two guys falling for each other in a world that didn't care. But the world did care. I saw it in the way my mom's voice tightened when I mentioned Jamie too often, in the way Uncle Ray's sermons at family dinners always circled back to traditional values. I felt it in the pit of my stomach every time Jamie's hand brushed mine in public, a thrill laced with dread. We were playing with fire, and I knew it. But I couldn't stop. Not when Jamie looked at me like I was the only thing that mattered. One evening, we were at his place, a cramped studio in Greenpoint with posters of indie bands plastered on the walls. He was cooking terrible spaghetti, but he was trying, and I was perched on the counter, watching him. The radio played some old Fleetwood Mac song, and Jamie started singing along, off-key and unapologetic. I couldn't help it. I slid off the counter and grabbed his hand, pulling him into a clumsy dance. He laughed, spinning me around, and for a second, I forgot everything else. I forgot the app, the family, the fear. It was just him and me, swaying in a tiny kitchen, our foreheads pressed together, our breaths mingling. "I think I'm falling for you," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the music. My heart stopped, then started again, faster. I wanted to say it back, but the words stuck. Instead, I kissed him, soft at first, then desperate, like I could pour everything I felt into that one moment. His hands found my waist, pulling me closer, and I thought, this is what it's supposed to feel like. But then my phone buzzed on the counter, shattering the moment. It was a text from my mom. "Dinner tomorrow at Uncle Ray's. Be there. No excuses." I froze, the weight of reality crashing back. Jamie saw my face and pulled back, his expression shifting from joy to concern. "What's wrong?" he asked. I showed him the text. His jaw tightened, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes too. "We'll figure it out," he said, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. I nodded, but deep down, I wasn't so sure. Family dinners at Uncle Ray's were a minefield, hours of judgmental comments and prying questions. And now, with Jamie and me teetering on the edge of something real, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were about to get caught. The dining room at Uncle Ray's house smelled of roast chicken and tension. The long oak table was set with Mom's old china, the kind she only brought out for important occasions. And the air was thick with the weight of unspoken expectations. Jamie sat across from me, his foot brushing mine under the tablia's secret anchor in a room full of eyes that felt like they could see right through us. Uncle Ray, at the head of the table, was in rare form, his voice booming as he railed against the state of the world today. I stared at my plate, pushing mashed potatoes around, trying to tune him out. But then he said it, kids these days, throwing away tradition for all this nonsense. Boys with boys, girls with girls, it's unnatural. My fork froze midair. Jamie's foot stopped moving. I didn't dare look at him, but I could feel his presence, like a heartbeat in the room. Mom jumped in, her voice too bright. "Oh, Ray, let's not get into politics at dinner. Alex, how's your job going?" She was trying to change the subject, but her question felt like a spotlight. I mumbled something about my graphic design gig, my face burning. Jamie stayed quiet, his usual charm replaced by a stiffness that made my chest ache. He was always the one who could laugh off Uncle Ray's rants. But tonight, every word seemed to land like a blow. After dinner, we escaped to the backyard. The cool night air a relief after the suffocating dining room. The stars were bright above the suburbs, and Jamie leaned against the old swing set we used to fight over as kids. "That was brutal," he said, his voice low. "I wanted to say something. You know, just stand up and tell them all to shut up." "Why didn't you?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. I was angry not at him, but at the world, at the family that made us feel like we had to hide. At myself, for being too scared to fight back. He looked at me, his eyes soft but fierce. "Because I didn't want to out you, Alex. Not like that. Not before you're ready." His words hit me hard, a reminder of how careful he was being, how much he was caring for both of us. I stepped closer, my hand brushing his, and for a moment, I thought about kissing him right there, under the stars, where anyone could see. But the back door creaked open, and we jumped apart like we'd been caught. It was just Aunt Linda, lighting a cigarette. "You boys okay out here?" she asked, her voice kind but curious. I nodded too quickly, my heart racing. She didn't press, but her gaze lingered, and I wondered how much she suspected. When she went back inside, Jamie grabbed my hand, pulling me behind the garage. "We can't keep doing this," he said, his voice urgent. "Sneaking around, pretending. It's killing me." "Then what do we do?" I whispered, my voice breaking. "Tell them. You heard Uncle Ray. They'll hate us." "Maybe," he said, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. "But I'd rather they hate me for who I am than love me for who I'm not." His words were a challenge, a call to be brave. But all I could think about was losing everything, my family, my home, the fragile safety I'd clung to for years. The next few days were torture. Jamie kept pushing, gently but persistently, for us to come out, to stop hiding. He wasn't wrong, I knew that. But every time I thought about telling Mom, about facing Uncle Ray's judgment, my stomach twisted into knots. I started avoiding Jamie's texts, skipping our usual meetups. I told myself it was to protect him, to protect us. But deep down, I knew I was just scared. Then came the night that changed everything. I was at a queer open mic night in the East Village. Something I'd never have dared attend before Jamie. I'd gone alone, needing to feel like I belonged somewhere, even if it was just for a few hours. The bar was crowded, the air thick with cigarette smoke and laughter. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. That's when I saw him, Jamie, on stage, holding a guitar. He hadn't told me he was performing. His voice was rough but beautiful, singing a song about love and secrets and breaking free. Every word felt like it was for me. And when his eyes found mine in the crowd, I swear my heart stopped. He smiled, that same crooked smile that had undone me in the park. And I realized I couldn't run from this anymore. From him. From us. After his set, he found me at the bar, his guitar case slung over his shoulder. "You didn't tell me you were coming," he said, but there was no anger in his voice, just relief. "You didn't tell me you were singing," I shot back, trying to keep it light, but my voice cracked. He stepped closer, his hand brushing my arm, and I felt the world narrow to just the two of us. "I wrote that for you," he said softly. "I know you're scared, Alex. I am too. But I'm done hiding. I want Thesis out in the open." His words were a lifeline, but they also terrified me. I wanted to say yes, to promise I'd be brave, but all I could do was nod, my throat tight with emotion. We left the bar together, walking through the neon-lit streets of the city. For the first time, I let myself hold his hand in public, my heart pounding with fear and exhilaration. But as we turned a corner, I saw a familiar figure in the distance, Uncle Ray, stepping out of a car with a group of his church friends. My grip on Jamie's hand tightened, and I froze, every instinct screaming to run. I yanked my hand from Jamie's, my breath catching as Uncle Ray's silhouette loomed under the streetlights. He hadn't seen us yet, but the sight of him was enough to send my heart into a tailspin. Jamie followed my gaze, his expression hardening. "Alex," he whispered, "we don't have to hide." But I was already moving, pulling him into the shadow of a storefront. My pulse thundered in my ears, drowning out the city's hum. "He can't see us," I hissed, my voice barely audible. "Not like this." Jamie's jaw clenched, but he didn't argue. He just stood there, close enough that I could feel the heat of him, his silence louder than any words. Uncle Ray passed by, laughing with his friends, oblivious to the storm he'd nearly walked into. When he was gone, I let out a shaky breath, but Jamie's eyes were on me, sharp and searching. "This is what I mean," he said, his voice low but firm. "We can't keep living like this, jumping at shadows. I want to be with you, Alex. Really be with you." I wanted that too, God. I wanted it so bad it hurt. But the fear was a living thing, clawing at my chest. "And what happens when they find out?" I asked, my voice breaking. "When they kick us out, or worse. You know how they are." Jamie's hand found mine again, his grip steady. "Then we build our own family," he said. "One that loves us for who we are." His words were a promise, a future I could almost see, but the weight of our reality kept pulling me back. The next morning, I woke to a voicemail from Mom. Her voice was tight, clipped. "Alex, we need to talk." Come to the house today. My stomach dropped. I hadn't told her anything, but the way she said my name felt like she knew. I called Jamie, my hands shaking as I dialed. I think they know, I said when he picked up. Mom sounds off. He was quiet for a moment. Then, I'm coming with you. I wanted to argue, to tell him it was too risky. But the truth was, I needed him there. I needed his strength, his courage, because mine was crumbling. We drove to Mom's house in silence, the tension between us thick but not angry. Jamie reached for my hand at a stoplight, and I let him hold it, drawing strength from the warmth of his fingers. When we pulled into the driveway, Mom was waiting on the porch, her arms crossed, her face unreadable. Uncle Ray was there too, his expression grim. My heart sank. This wasn't just a talk, it was an ambush. Inside, the living room felt like a courtroom. Mom sat on the couch, Uncle Ray looming beside her. Alex, Mom started, her voice trembling. Someone saw you last night. In the city. Holding hands with him. She glanced at Jamie, and the disgust in her eyes made my stomach churn. Jamie spoke before I could. It's true, he said, his voice steady despite the tension. We're together, and we're not ashamed of it. I stared at him, my heart swelling with pride and terror. He was so brave, so sure, and I felt like a coward next to him. Uncle Ray's face turned red. This is a sin, he spat. Your family. This is unnatural. Disgusting, his words cut deep. But Jamie didn't flinch. Love isn't a sin, he said, his voice rising. And if you can't see that, then you're the one who's lost. He turned to me, his eyes pleading. Alex, say something. Please. I opened my mouth, but the words wouldn't come. All I could see was Mom's face, pale and tear-streaked, and Uncle Ray's fury, like a storm ready to break. I wanted to stand with Jamie, to be as brave as he was, but the fear was too much. I'm sorry, I whispered, and I saw the light go out in Jamie's eyes. He left without another word, the door slamming behind him. Mom tried to hug me, but I pushed her away, running after him. I found him in the driveway, his shoulders slumped, his face wet with tears. Jamie, wait, I called, my voice hoarse. I'm sorry. I froze. You didn't choose me, he said, his voice raw. I needed you to stand with me. Alex. Just once. He got in his car and drove off, leaving me alone in the driveway, the weight of my cowardice crushing me. For weeks, I tried to reach him, calls, texts, even showing up at his apartment, but he was gone, like he'd vanished from my life. The guilt was unbearable, eating away at me every time I passed our bench in Prospect Park or heard a Fleetwood Mac song. I'd lost him, the one person who'd made me feel alive, because I wasn't brave enough to fight for us. Then, one rainy afternoon, I found a letter in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was Jamie's handwriting, messy but unmistakable. Alex. It read, I'm in San Francisco. I needed space. But I don't hate you. I never could. I still believe in us. But you need to believe in yourself first. When you're ready, I'll be here. Enclosed was a photo of us from that night in his kitchen, dancing to the radio, our smiles brighter than I'd ever remembered. I stared at the photo, my throat tight. He was giving me a chance to be brave. To choose him. To choose myself. I booked a flight to San Francisco that night, my hands shaking as I packed a bag. I didn't know what I'd say when I saw him, but I knew I couldn't keep hiding. Not from him. Not from the world. Not from myself. When I found him, standing on a pier with the Golden Gate Bridge in the background, he turned to me with that same crooked smile. "Took you long enough," he said, and I laughed, tears streaming down my face. I didn't care who saw us. I didn't care what they thought. I pulled him into my arms, and for the first time, I felt free. We'd lost a lot, family. Safety. The illusion of belonging, but we'd found something better. Each other. And in that moment, with the ocean crashing behind us and Jamie's heartbeat against mine, I knew we'd build a life together. One brave enough to hold all our love.